Hey guys, this is Mark Howard, author of the Griffin Legends fantasy novel series. Thanks for joining me here today. So, it has been a fairly busy time here. I meant to get this video out at least a few days ago, but like I said, things are ultra busy right now, and so it's a little more difficult to get these things out. But anyway, here we are. So, let's see, what's been happening lately? So, I guess the biggest thing is I finished the second draft of the screenplay for Godfrey's Crusade. So, I feel fairly confident in what I've done with that. I am now waiting for feedback here. And once I get that feedback, we dive straight back in and hopefully we get a movie deal sooner rather than later. But in the meantime, we can't put all of our eggs in that basket, waiting around and hoping and praying and all that. And so, more importantly, I don't know why I said more importantly. It's Friday evening. I'm a little bit tired here. But so what I'm working on now is I am directing all of my creative energies into the third installment in the Griffin Legends series now. I know a lot of you are super excited for that. I agree that the third book is well overdue at this point, right? Godfrey's Crusade, this came out July 2021, and what I was most inspired by to continue writing was how many of you asked me, where's the sequel? We don't want this story to be over. We want more. And so that helped drive me to continue on to Godfrey Under Siege here. And Godfrey Under Siege came out relatively quickly, all things said and told here. Godfrey's Crusade, it took me about 5 years to write that under some fairly difficult circumstances. Godfrey Under Siege, still pretty difficult circumstances, right? I wasn't in grad school anymore, but still had wife, children. In some ways, it was more difficult writing Godfrey Under Siege because I was teaching full-time throughout all of that writing process. But still, somehow I was able to get Godfrey Under Siege out by November of 2022. So it didn't really take all that long in between Godfrey's Crusade and Godfrey Under Siege. And so now we are in middle of 2024, and a lot of you are asking, hey, where's part 3? We want that. And so, again, I'm touched that there's still so much interest in this, and I've got to make good on those promises now. So the third installment, which I still don't have a title for, but it will be coming here soon. That process is now getting my full attention here. So I will update you guys on that as things come along. As far as the title goes for this, it's one of those things where I have a little bit of difficulty coming up with a title before I get too deep into a work. But once I have gotten into the meat of what I'm working on, I have a pretty good idea of what my story is about, and it's a lot easier to come up with a title either in the middle of or towards the end of the writing process there. So title reveal will happen as soon as I have decided, but that's not today in this video, unfortunately. Another big thing happening here, and this is what I wanted to make the majority of my video about, actually, is I am having a book signing here tomorrow, actually. I was hoping to get this video out at least a few days beforehand in case anyone happened to be in the area and was able to show up. But like I said, a few things got in the way this week and I wasn't able to make it work until now for the video. But I am having my second book signing at Bookery Games in Fairborn, Ohio. I've had, this will be my fourth book signing in total, but this will be my second over at Bookery Games. And so, big shout out to Bookery Games for hosting this for me. I really appreciate you guys stocking my books in the first place, right? And second, for allowing me to do now my second book signing at your store. Bookery Games has been a special place to me for a while. For those of you who aren't from kind of the Dayton area in Ohio, Bookery Games, as the name implies, it's a game store where they sell a bunch of Dungeons and Dragons books and models, board games, things of that nature there. And I had been going there since I was in late high school when I was first starting to get involved in some of those hobbies. Maybe in a future video, I'll show you some of the Dungeons and Dragons figures I've painted through the years, or Warhammer models or things like that. But anyway, I've been going to that store for a long time, and I've developed a bit of a relationship with the people that work there, and so it means a lot to me that they're supporting me in my author career. And so big thank you to the guys over at Bookery Games for that. And so now I want to talk about my experiences with book signings, right? Because not every author gets to have book signings, I guess, and there's a lot to talk about with book signings, actually. I gotta say, generally, I am really excited for book signings as a general principle here, right? Sorry. You can tell it's the end of the week here. I'm struggling with even getting the right pronouns out. But yeah, book signings are something that I really look forward to. I'm still early enough in my author career that I spend most of my waking hours in a day job. When I come home from work, I have my family responsibilities, who I love very much, but they still take a lot of time and energy to devote to them. And most days after taking care of my kids, getting them to bed, then I've got maybe an hour left before I'm supposed to go to bed and go through the daily grind all over again. And so while I spend a comparatively small portion of my day focused on anything to do with my writing, one of the big reasons why I really enjoy book signings is it's an opportunity to meet with people and talk about nothing but these books that I'm writing, and me as an author, and my inspiration for these stories that I write. And so I get extremely excited for that. And so I'll tell you a little bit about some of my previous book signings, because I haven't been running this channel all that long, and some of you are probably unfamiliar with how I even got my first book signing in the first place here. And so this was a couple years ago now. This was over at the local Barnes and Noble at North Fairfield. I was I was teaching at an online middle school at the time, and I was on summer break, and I was working at the cafe at this Barnes and Noble on Godfrey Under Siege. I was pretty determined to get that book out as quickly as I could. I was kind of feeling the fire under my feet, like, oh, I gotta keep this going, right? Gotta keep the momentum up. But while I was there, I was there 5, 6 days a week working on this thing, and I got the chance to know one of the managers at this Barnes & Noble pretty well. We hit off things pretty well. We discovered a number of common interests, and I talked to him a little bit about my situation, right? Being a school teacher on summer break, working on the second installment of my fantasy series, and the guy was extremely interested, and so he bought my book. He had me sign it, and then he talked to his manager, the general manager of the store, and convinced her that we should have a book signing for me, which of course I was just thrilled for, right? This is the opportunity that many authors would kill for. And I later, after talking with these managers at Barnes & Noble, I discovered that a lot of authors will email their local Barnes & Nobles and other bookstores all the time asking, begging for this very opportunity here. And so I recognize that it was an extreme privilege to have this opportunity for this book signing at Barnes & Noble. And when this first book signing happened, it was a really wonderful experience. A lot of friends and family showed up, right? It was all really exciting for everyone, right? And I am extremely grateful for everyone who was there. My parents, one of my brothers made it, a couple of cousins were there, a lot of friends and family from the area, people I knew from church, all that kind of stuff there. And it was a huge show of support that I was extremely grateful for. And when Godfrey Under Siege came out, my second book, the same store, the same managers, they agreed to have another book signing for me because, well, in the first book signing, we sold out. We were able to get rid of all of the books fairly quickly, and we all deemed it to be a great success, and so let's do it again, right? And so with my second book signing, I was maybe a little bit disappointed that not as many friends and family showed up for the second book signing, with one notable exception there. An old friend from college, she actually drove a number of hours across state lines to come to my second book signing, and that was that meant a lot to me. I was not expecting that, but like I said, there were fewer friends and family that came to my second book signing, but where we lost out on that, I was able to gain a lot more curious onlookers, right? I had my table out there. There was a little display with the books and the signage and everything, and a lot of people that I did not know came up and started asking questions like, hey, what is this book? What are you doing here? What's this all about, right? And so even though there were fewer friends and family, it was still a highly successful book signing events where I was able to not sell every single book I brought this time, but I was able to sell the vast majority of the books that I brought to this signing. And I've had a number of sales jobs in the past, right? Selling things like pest control, trying to convince people to switch internet services, all of that kind of stuff. And even though I'm sorry to say I hated most of those prior sales jobs, what I really loved doing was trying to sell a product that I actually believed in. These books here, right? It's like I put my heart and soul into this. I know that this is a high quality product here. And so if you walk by my table at a bookstore, you can be sure that I'm going to be pretty passionate about why this is the number one thing you should be reading right now. So, second book signing over at Barnes & Noble, another highly successful event. It went very well. And so then we go to my third book signing, right? So I believe this was shortly after my second book signing. I'm kind of riding off of this high of having had two successful book signings within a relatively short period of time. And I go over to Bookery Games and I start talking to the folks over there about potentially stocking my books. And they agreed to it. They, because I had been going back and forth for a long time over to that store. And they also agreed to not only stock the books, but to have a book signing event on the anniversary of the change of ownership in the store. The store had been bought out by some of the previous employees, and they wanted to celebrate the grand reopening, or the first anniversary of the grand reopening, I should say. And this third book signing, there was a new element thrown in that wasn't there in the previous two. I actually had a little bit of a surprise thrown at me, where this book signing was not just me, as the previous two had been, but another local author was also invited to do his own book signing on the same day. And this surprised me a little bit, right? I wasn't told about this beforehand. At least I don't recall being told about this beforehand. And I have to admit, I was maybe a little bit worried that we might crowd each other out a little bit. The guy's name, the other author's name, Andrew Seipel. We talked for a while. Great guy. He's a lot farther along in this author's journey than I am. He's got a ton of books published out there, and he gave me some advice that I took to heart. And it was still a very successful event. He sold a number of books. I sold a number of books, and I found that having another author there at the same book signing as me was an overall positive experience. That we weren't stepping on each other's toes or fighting for customers, or so to speak, right? So I really enjoyed all of the book signings that I've got to be a part of. They've all been, at least what I would consider, extremely successful. At every single one of these things, I have either sold out all the books that I've brought with me, or sold out almost all the books that were in the store. Will that happen every time for every book signing? I don't know. I would sure hope so, but these things are They can be a little bit unpredictable, right? You never know who's actually going to show up to these things and who's not. But I'm really excited for tomorrow morning. My plan is to show up at Bookery Games a little bit before the store actually opens. We'll set up what we have there, and then I will be at this game store until we either sell all the books or it's closing time, whichever comes first. So here's knocking on wood, hoping for the best. And thank you guys so much for tuning in. Be sure to like, share, subscribe, all that kind of fun stuff. And we will catch you all next time. All right, have a good one.